let's do this thing. Okay. I need the book, actually. Alright, is this thing on? Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Alright, first time in performing in front of a live audience. Nobody can see it, but my beautiful girlfriend is standing off screen drinking and there are the two Korgs. Yeah, put it up, sponsor us. Okay, so today we are reading On Writing by Stephen King, and I have notes, and as always seems to happen, something has gone wrong. I am missing some notes, so we're just gonna go with it for the first half and hope that it works out. So the essay that we're talking about today, as I mentioned previously, is what writing is. Now, a lot of people don't like Stephen King, and they don't like Stephen King because he is a commercial writer. And what that means is that his books they sell really well. What are you pointing at?
You're looking at me. I don't know if you want to look at me.
Yeah, I'm looking at you now. It's way easier if I have an audience, honestly. Like, I would rather not look at the camera. I should also mention, before we dive into this book, where I am. So, we are, what is the beach called? Percy Johnson County Park in Wisconsin on Washington Island. Go on Google Maps. I would encourage everybody to go on Google Maps, type in Washington Island, Wisconsin. We are here today, as I already have said in this video, but I really recorded it hours ago. We are here because there was the Washington Island Literary Festival, which is the state of Wisconsin's most remote and most secluded literary festival. It was a very good time. I unfortunately did not get video content because I am too nervous to pull out a camera and get in people's faces. Although it is now my job, as I've already said, to do that. So, but we're figuring it out. It'll be fine. Anybody who's watching this, if you could go on Facebook, go to Right On Door County and like the page and say you saw Sam's video and you're here to support here to support writers. The dogs are leashed up right now. I should probably let them go.
Yeah, let them all.
Because Moby almost just himself. There we go. What was I saying? If you could go on Facebook, go to Right On Door County and like the page. And support local writers. It goes a very long way for me. It's going to make my bosses think more highly of me. It's a nonprofit, so we're here to support the artists. It's in a beautiful place. We're trying to get better writers to come, which isn't to say that the current writers are not great, because they obviously are great. But writers are expensive to get, and so we're trying to figure out how, and I'm the marketing coordinator there, and we're just trying to make it happen, because who doesn't love books? Who doesn't love great writers, great artists? That's what we're here to do. That's why we are on Washington Island at Percy Johnson County Park. Pretty sure. Cool. Okay, but anyways, now that I've given the pitch for the place, the book, Stephen King's On Writing. This is a great book. Stephen King is a commercial writer. Plenty of people will love to hate on him because he's a commercial writer. But those people are, they're wrong, because it's very hard to sell books, and Stephen King sells a lot of books. So we're looking at this because his opinions on writing matter. And the essay is called What Writing Is. It's only about a 5-page essay. It separates the first half of this book, which I would encourage anybody who's at all interested in reading, writing, education to check out. But it's in the middle of this book. It's right between Stephen King's, I think for how long? About 100 pages. He talks about his upbringing with writing and how he kind of got to where he is. And this dives into kind of the philosophy that he takes into writing, which I think is really interesting as a writer myself. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive in. Next time, we're going to be talking about Leonardo da Vinci and his commonplace books, because I have a commonplace book video that is popping off, and we are trying to grow this channel. And because we are trying to grow this channel, I'm just going to keep pounding what is working. So more commonplace book videos to come. We're going to talk about the most famous commonplace books of all time. Here's Finnegan. Leonardo da Vinci. We're going to be looking at Walter Isaacson's biography on him, which I love. I've read it a couple times now, and I think it's great. So that's for next time. Right now, we're talking about this book. And the reason we're talking about this book is because I want to make you a better writer, because I think that's how we make you a better thinker. If you can become a better writer, what you're doing is you're becoming a better thinker. And that's going to follow you wherever you go, anytime you have to use your brain. And as it turns out, you're going to have to use your brain a lot if you're doing whatever it is you do. Or maybe you don't have to use your brain. My point is that it's probably a good idea if you sharpen your thoughts, which is what writing and reading help us do. So anyways, without further ado, we're going to dive in. So I'm going to be moving through this essay pretty slowly. Again, it's only 5 pages. It's very digestible. I would encourage you to get this book. The first half is really just Stephen King talking about what kind of made him into a writer, and the rest of the book is him diving into, his craft philosophy, his approach to writing, how he thinks about the art. And I just think it's useful to consider what artists think about the art that they're concerned with. Let's dig in. Like I've already said, bunch of notes missing. We got the first page of my notes. You see that? You want to screenshot that? Hopefully I don't have any dirty curse words on here. I'm sure if enough people watch this, that sooner or later somebody will do some deep diving, and hopefully there's nothing on there. But this one is where things get a little crazy. Sometimes I like writing sideways, so that's what it looks like. But anyways, here we go. Okay, so starting out, what writing is. Stephen King, he is telling us what writing is. Writing, he says, and this is the first sentence. What writing is. Telepathy, of course. That's what the first sentence is. So, writing is telepathy, of course. Stephen King says that writing depends on telepathy the way all of the arts do. Now, that's interesting. What's telepathy? Communication between the minds. And I think that's interesting because odds are your high school English teacher, your middle school English teacher, your K through 12 English teachers probably did not explain the subjects to you in that way, which I think is wrong, but that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I am not your teacher. Finn, back this way. Oh, okay. Everybody's gone. So that's why I'm not your teacher. But Stephen King also believes writing offers us the purest distillation of telepathy. Now, what does that mean? Really, I'm not 100% sure. I don't really know what he means. What I think he means is that writing is it's the art form that most immediately allows us to connect with other people's brains. That's why it is the purest distillation of telepathy. So from here, the course the essay takes is we get this glimpse at what he thinks writing is, and the development beyond that is Stephen King introduces himself and tells us the things that he has on his mind. So I will read a portion of the text. As I already said before, all the arts depend upon telepathy to some degree, but I believe that writing offers the purest distillation. A short ways down on page 103, he says, "There are things on my mind." And he lists a bunch of problems, this, that, concerns. He lists good things on his mind, and he lists worries on his mind before drawing a distinction between those good and bad, those normal good and bad thoughts, and something more complicated, something more creative. So let's see, there's another quote on 103 that I'm going to read. He says, "Right now, All of that stuff is up top, and I'm talking now about the normal good things and the normal bad things, your everyday stresses, your everyday, little pieces, the pieces you enjoy. All that, he says, is up top. I'm in another place, a basement place where there are lots of bright lights and clear images. This is a place I've built for myself over the years. It's a far-seeing place. Now, for the essay, and I'll say before I continue to read more of this, that I encourage you to purchase this book. That is part of the reason why I'm doing this. I am going to be doing a deep dive on this essay, but really it's only 5 pages in a 300-page book. I'm trying to teach you something. I'm saying this so I don't get copyright claimed somehow, but you should buy this book. And that's really, what is this if not a promotion for Stephen King's literary works? So, anyways, I think I covered my bases. And what we're talking about now, let's see, I just finished reading this quote. It's a far-seeing place. This ends up being a very important term as the essay goes on for reasons that we will talk about soon. So he elaborates and he explains what a far-seeing place is. He says, if you construct your own far-seeing place, you might put it in a treetop or on the roof of the World Trade Center or on the edge of the Grand Canyon. And then he goes on to say, you're quite likely in your own far-seeing place right now, the one where you go to receive telepathic messages. So that's cool, kind of weird. Let's see, where are we? The point that I draw from this is that should the reader wish to construct their own... Finn, Moby.
No, we're good, Tim.
Okay, all right, you got him?
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. Anyways, sorry, I'm worrying about my dogs. Look at how Moby's looking at me. Should the reader wish to construct their own far-seeing place, it could be put anywhere, even the Grand Canyon. What is a far-seeing place? It's like this kind of creative, imaginative space where you go to produce creative works, whether you're a painter or a writer or a musician. The creative space that you build something in, that you give form to an idea within, is, it is this kind of far-seeing place where you send telepathic messages, according to King. It's like your own little red wagon that you can bring anywhere with you. Those are his words, but I can't find it. Part 3. Let's see. A little bit of contradiction. World Trade Center. Oh yeah, that's your little red wagon. So you bring it with you. You travel with it. It's yours. It's always there to help you. Okay. Now, this is the point in the essay where things get a little interesting in my mind. This kind of new evolution takes place. And this is the 4th part. Says you're quite likely in your own far-seeing place, the one where you go to receive telepathic messages. Not that you have to be there. Books are a uniquely portable magic, and this is why you should read books. They're a uniquely portable kind of magic. They take you away to someplace new, and this is something your English teacher might have told you, and it's kind of a cliche, but it is true. 15 minutes you have to spend, he writes it, wherever you might be spending them. It could be a loud place, it could be a boring place, but if you have a book, you have an escape. You have a portal to another world, to a place that is, I already said to another world, but otherworldly. And I think that's interesting, and it's a way of looking at reading as something that is more extraordinary than I think what we are used to thinking of it as. Okay, what else? He goes on. At such times, and he's saying at such times he says, I find a book vital. And when he says at such times, he's meaning when you're just out and about, when you have a book on you, whenever you so choose that you want to start reading, that's when a book is valuable. That's why he always keeps that thing on him. anyways, so King says, so I read where I can, but I have a favorite place, and probably you do too. A place where the light is good and the vibe is usually strong. For me, it's the blue chair in my study. So this is the place, we talked about a far-seeing place. This is kind of what he's talking about. There are certain places where the vibe is just strong and things are firing on all cylinders. For Stephen King, where he does his best reading is in the blue chair in his study. And he has a far-seeing place, which happens to be the desk that he writes at, which is on the cover of On Writing. So yeah, I'm trying to keep all this straight, flying through it. Idea develops. You're reading this in the future, but you're in your far-seeing place. And that, I think, is very interesting. So he says, let's assume you're in your favorite receiving place, just as I am in the place where I do my best transmitting. We'll have to perform our mentalist routine. Remember, telepathy. We'll have to perform our mentalist routine. Oh, Moby. Okay, come here, boys. Come here. They're good babies. All right, Mom's got to walk away for a second. Moby, come. Moby. Yeah, lock him up. I said lock him up. That sounds very unforgiving. It's just the leash. The leash is just tied around the the picnic table. It makes it sound way worse than it actually is.
Come here, Finn.
Moby.
Come on. Come here.
Is he making an appearance? Nope. Good boys. Okay. Go see Mama. You stinker. You a stinker. Go see her.
Come here, baby.
All right. Slight pause. Okay, let's get back to it. The idea develops. You're reading this in the future, far-seeing place. But where am I? Okay, so Stephen King is talking. What is he talking about? He's talking about telepathy, this mentalist routine. So he says we'll have to perform a mentalist routine not just over distance but over time as well. Yet that presents no real problem if we can still read Dickens, Shakespeare, and with the help of a footnote or two, Herodotus. It's some classical writer whose name I don't know how to pronounce. Sue me, I'm sorry. English major, I read books. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Go easy on me in the comments, please. Herodotus. Anyways. So Stephen King's saying we're reading at different, he wrote this in 1997. The book was scheduled to come out in 2000. The year now is 2021. And Stephen King says if we can read Dickens, if we can read Shakespeare, if we can, if we could read Plato, if we can read Plato and Aristotle, then we can do this thing. We can communicate with each other. We can send telepathic messages. So that's cool. And I agree. And it's again, another one of the things that makes me so interested in reading. It's the idea that what we're basically doing when we read a book is we're communicating with another person across time. That's nuts. That's crazy to me. Maybe it is to you. Maybe it's not. I'm hoping I find enough people who think it's crazy that, this could be the class that I teach. This could be the teaching work that I do. But anyways, yeah, so sending telepathic messages, you would think that is difficult, and it is difficult to some extent, but sending telepathic messages across time? Impossible, you might think. Unthinkable, you might say. No, wrong entirely. It's actually easy. It's called writing. So that's what writing is. And the great artists, the great writers, their voices are still being sought out after hundreds of years. Stephen King mentioned Dickens and Shakespeare, Jane Austen, James Joyce, Emily Dickinson. If I can kind of call the shots, I bet you 100 years from now, people are going to be seeking out Toni Morrison's voice. They're going to be seeking out I don't know. They're going to be, I don't know, I'm just naming writers that I like. They'll be seeking out voices. People are always going to be looking to the past for voices. So anyways, I'm going to move on before I get too bogged down here because I have a problem with getting bogged down and then things take too long. So, books are uniquely portable magic. Already said that. Okay. So we have this communication. You can undo them. Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. All right, it's 3 o'clock.
It's 3 already?
Almost 10:02, 5:02.
Are we sure there's a 5 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll get there at 4:30. We'll be good. We have to get, this is something I did not previously mention about this place, although you'll notice, and I guess the name implies that it is in fact an island. You got to take a ferry to get here. So if we don't catch that 5 o'clock ferry, we are stuck here overnight with no lodging and 2 dogs and a small car. So we got to get that ferry, which means we got to get through this thing. I gotta go. But first, I need a refreshment. Gotta wet the whistle. It's beautiful here. I love this place. Again, I'm going to plug it again. Actually, I'm going to say hi to me in the comments. This is going to be my quick promotional plug. Say hi to me in the comments. If you need any help at any time with reading or writing, come to one of my videos. Send me what your question is. I don't care if you're in high school English, middle school English, if you're at university in some English class, or if you're just doing it for personal reasons. Come to me. Come to the comments. Because that makes me feel like I'm not just yelling into the void. It makes me feel like there are people out there. So, and also go to Right on Door County on Facebook and like the page and tell them Sam sent you, because that makes me look a lot better. And I'm just trying to look good. I'm just trying to do good work. It's a nonprofit. Let's grow this thing. I want to get great writers here. Let's establish a literary tradition. Moving on. So, Stephen King says we can manage the gap between 1997 and whenever you're reading this. He mentioned Dickens, mentioned Shakespeare. I've already talked about this. Okay, so next, he says, and here we go, actual telepathy in action. So he's preparing his reader. 2 pages ago, he was saying writing is telepathy. And now we're getting to it. He's going to explain to us how it's telepathy. He says, and here we go, actual telepathy in action. You'll notice I have nothing up my sleeves. He's being cheeky here. He says, you'll notice I have nothing up my sleeves and that my lips never move. Neither, most likely, do yours. And that's what reading is, unless you actually, I read once that you should make a conscious effort to read with your mouth closed, and this is because you will unconsciously, subconsciously move your lips to match the words that you're reading, and what that does is it slows down how fast you read. Some people want to read faster, some people want to read slower. I am actually an extremely slow reader. So if you are an extraordinarily slow reader like me, don't feel bad. Just understand that it's the way it goes. You know, so you like digesting things a little more. There's no shame in that. These speed readers, they don't know. They're not digesting the text. They're not digging in. And so, I guarantee you there's somebody out there who can contradict that. There are super geniuses who can speed read with 99% comprehension and recall. That's not me. I can't do that, so I read slow. Anyways, I say that so that nobody feels bad. It doesn't matter how quickly you read. K through 12 wants you to think that it's an issue. College wants you to think that it's an issue if you can't read fast. It's not. Just, it's okay if you read slowly. That's what I'm saying. So, he says, look, and again, he's saying, here we go, actual telepathy. Look, here's a table covered with a red cloth. On it is a cage the size of a small fish aquarium. In the cage is a white rabbit with a pink nose and pink-rimmed eyes. In its front paws is a carrot stub, and I'm going to start over. Look, here's a table covered with a red cloth. On it is a cage the size of a small fish aquarium. In the cage is a white rabbit with a pink nose and pink-rimmed eyes. In its front paws is a carrot stub upon which it is contentedly munching. On its back, clearly marked in blue ink, is the number 8. So that's weird. But Stephen King goes on. He says, do we see the same thing? Sorry, I got to set my notes down. I'm abandoning the notes, and we're just going to shoot. So we're going off script, and every time I ever go off script, it ends poorly. It takes way longer than it should, but we're already 25 minutes deep, so what do I have to lose? Let's do this thing. Let's knock it out. Let's just go for it. We're here on Washington Island. We're on the beach. The freshwater ocean of Lake Michigan surrounds us, and I'm ready to vibe out on the books. The corgis are down there. The baby girl's down there. Life is good. So, do we see the same thing, Stephen King says, after talking about, the cage and the white rabbit with the carrot stub and the blue 8 on its back? Do we see the same thing? We'd have to get together and compare notes to make absolutely sure, but I think we do. There will be necessary variations, of course. Some receivers will see a cloth which is turkey red. Some will see one that's scarlet, while others may see still other shades. And this is an important point. So everybody, if you read this book, if you read this same essay, you will read the same words that I am reading. And this is something I used to say to my students at Johns Hopkins. You'll see the same words that I see, but the images that appear in your head, the door, the path you take after entering through the doorway of the words, the path that you take will be different. It's a path that depends upon, the associative links that your unconscious makes that carries you forward. So I think that's cool. But the idea Stephen King says is like, are we seeing exactly the same thing? Who can say for certain? And this is an old idea. It's it's much older. It's centuries old. Whatever. It's probably as old as human beings themselves. But the quote that comes to mind, and I don't know if I can't cite it perfectly, but Ernest Hemingway has some quote about the inability of language to accurately communicate or precisely communicate human emotions. And I think that's it's in a similar vein as what King is saying here. What he's saying is that, you can read the same words, but we don't really see the same thing. And even though we don't see the same thing, something telepathic is still happening. A message is still being communicated telepathically. And he goes on to kind of break it down, like as far as are we seeing the same thing? Are we not? He says the matter of the cage leaves quite a lot of room for individual interpretation, and that is kind of the word that I've been circling around this whole time, or the phrase that I've been circling around: individual interpretation. For one thing, it is described in terms of rough comparison, which is useful only if you and I see the world and measure the things in it with similar eyes. Rough comparison is useful only if you and I see the world and measure the things in it with similar eyes. It's easy to become careless when you make rough comparisons, but the alternative is a attention to detail that takes all the fun out of writing. So the point that's at the center of that idea is that the dimensions of the cage don't matter. That's not what it means. Like when we ask, do we see the same thing? It's like, do we see a cage on the table that is 3 feet by 6 inches, or that is 3 feet 6 inches in length, 2 feet in width, and 14 inches high? No, that's probably not. We don't all see that. But we don't need to, because as King says, that's not prose, that's an instruction manual. So and again, this gets toward the beauty of writing. Like, what is it? It's the idea that you just need something that's good enough at communicating the idea, and that is what we're shooting for. So we don't need to know the precise dimensions. It's kind of moving on. I'm starting to burn out. I've been going on for about 30 minutes, starting to get a little burned out. Corgi's about to come running through here. Let's see if we can get him down. Come here. Come here. Come here. Okay, we all, so, and this is the point that I should be making. King says we all understand the cage is a see-through medium. Beyond that, we don't care. We don't have to know the exact measurements of the cage. We understand, if we understand what a cage is, we're basically seeing the same thing. And we can say we're seeing different things, we're seeing the same things, but as long as we understand what a cage is, it might as well be the same thing from person to person. So that's, again, we're working with this idea of writing as telepathy, communicating a message. We understand what a cage is, and in that way, Stephen King is blasting words into our brain, blasting images into our brain. The most interesting thing here, he says, isn't even the carrot-munching rabbit in the cage, but the number that's on its back. If you remember, there is an 8 on the back of this rabbit that is in blue ink. And that's important because, you know, we got a series of details. Baby girl just cracked a white does not sponsor us. But white we're out here educating people. I mean, I personally am not hitting claws, but baby girl's out here hitting claws, and nobody's going to tell her she can't. There's another car pulling up. Not sure if the dogs are supposed to be off the leash. Okay, so we all understand the cage is a see-through medium. Beyond that, we don't care. The most interesting thing here isn't even the carrot-munching rabbit in the cage, but the number on its back. Not a 6, not a 4, not a 9.5. But the number, it's an 8. Yes, that's what the number is. This is what we're looking at, and we all see it. I didn't tell you, you didn't ask me, I never opened my mouth, and you never opened yours. So everybody's mouths are closed. Stephen King wrote this down, and as it turns out, what we're most interested in is, there's a rabbit in the cage, but what about the rabbit in the cage is most interesting? The fact that there's an 8 on its back, that's weird. So we're seeing the same thing. Our eyes are drawn to the same place. But Stephen King never explicitly said, pay attention to this specific detail. It's just the direction that our minds go. That's the beauty of writing. That's the craft of writing. That's the art of writing. It's how writing is telepathy. We're not even in the same year together, let alone the same room, except we are together. We're close. We're having a meeting of the minds. This is how writing is telepathy. Our gaze, our mind, our eyes, they are drawn to the same point, but King never explicitly says, this is the most important detail. It's like we kind of digest the details and instantly know what is, most of the time, we instantly know what is of importance. So let's continue. Again, I'm kind of going through this very thoroughly, but you should purchase this book because if you're interested in writing and reading, if you're interested in making yourself a better thinker, this is a book you need to pick up because as far as writers go, nobody sells more books than Stephen King. I mean, there are a couple writers who do sell more books, but the 99.9% of writers do not. So it's his opinion is worth hearing, I think. So I sent you a table, he says, continuing. We're having a meeting of the minds, he says. I sent you a table with a red cloth on it, a cage, a rabbit, and the number 8 in blue ink. You got them, especially that blue 8. We've engaged in an act of telepathy, real telepathy. I'm not trying to be cute. There is a point to be made. And what is that point? Well, he's going to tell you. But the idea is that there is real beauty. This is what the art of writing is. It's language that directs the reader's gaze, their mind, their mind's eye, their real eyes to the same details. So what we have here is you can approach the act of writing with nervousness, excitement, hopefulness, or even despair. The sense that you can never completely put on page what's in your mind and heart. And that goes back to the Hemingway quote I mentioned like 15 minutes ago, which is, the inability of language to accurately describe, pinpoint, represent human emotion. So you can never really put into words what's in your mind, and that is a bummer, but it's also just what it is. You can't really paint what's in your mind. You can't put to music what's in your mind. You know, you lose something when you try to give form to emotion. That's an old idea, thousands of years old, and it's not mine. So if you want to put me on blast for that idea, if there's a hater out there who wants to put me on blast for that idea, put the Greeks on blast for it. Put the ancient Chinese on blast for it, because it's not my idea. Moving on. You can come to, okay, here we go. You can come to the act of writing with your fists clenched and your eyes narrowed, ready to kick ass and take down names. You can come to it because you want a girl to marry you or because you want to change the world. Come to it any way but lightly. Let me say it again. You must not come Let me say it again. You must not come lightly to the blank page. And this is like a classic writer's line. I feel like writers get really jacked up. Don't come to the blank page lightly. I don't know. I think it's fine if you come to the blank page lightly. Maybe just like goofing around and doodling and writing poems, and that's fine because it'll, incrementally over time it will compound and it'll make you a better writer. So you don't have to be all uptight every time you sit down to a blank piece of paper. Just sit down and do what you got to do. Write about what you care about, and you will gradually become better at communicating your thoughts and ideas. And that's going to be the kind of skill that follows you into the professional world, into the academic world, your social life, personal. It will follow you everywhere. So sharpen those words, practice your writing, and if you want to approach the blank page lightly or not lightly, this is. Do what you wish. Last bit here. If you can take it seriously, if you can take writing seriously, we can do business. If you can't or won't, it's time for you to close the book and do something else. So yeah, and really what that means is, like, if you don't care about writing, you're probably not going to read. You're probably not going to read Stephen King, so you really kind of have to prioritize what's being read to get the most out of what he's saying. And what I think that means is, I had a commenter recently say that they kind of struggle to establish a reading habit. And they asked if I had any tips for how to do it. And I think there's something to be said about appreciating what a literary text is. When you read Shakespeare, you are just reading the writing of some guy, but I think we can make it more meaningful than that. Shakespeare was writing hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and it's so incredibly difficult to even produce something that people care about in the immediate future. How many books are published in a year, and how many books go on to sell 100,000 plus copies? The number that sell 100,000 copies versus the total number of books is night and day. It's not even, that those are what the stakes are. And I think that when we understand that, it gives us an appreciation for the art that has lasted this long. There's a reason why these texts that are difficult people have read, and it's because if you give your time to them and try to understand them, they reward you. Shakespeare rewards you. Reading Homer, Plato, Aristotle, it rewards you. And I can't exactly say how. That's for you to find out, but that's the beauty of it. When you understand that they're so... it takes so much force, so much energy for a text, for a piece of literature to last from one generation to the next and beyond, from century to century. So much power, so much effort as far as disseminating the ideas, and there's so much care behind it that for me, when I sit down with an older work, I feel like I'm somehow connecting not only with the writer, I'm not only engaging in the telepathy that Stephen King talked about, but I'm also kind of in a mysterious and indirect way communicating with the people who lived long ago and read this text and got something from it. And you know, if we're talking Shakespeare, I've mentioned him several times. Stephen King mentioned him. You know, people have been reading Shakespeare. I mean, literacy in America in the 19th century was, can you read the Bible? Can you read Shakespeare? Moby's rolling in the sand right now. He's so funny. Can you read Shakespeare? Can you read the Bible? That's what literacy was in the 19th century. So, you know, how many millions of people, billions, have read Shakespeare and gotten value from him? For me, that raises the stakes every time I pick up one of his texts. And Finn, come. Yeah, I'm almost done. So it raises the stakes, and that helps me read. And so that's one of the ways that I don't approach the blank page lightly. And I'm talking in the reading sense, but writing too, you know. At the end of the day, what writing is, telepathy, me not approaching the blank page lightly. I just try to write what I think is good. And I don't know what that means. I've never known what that means. But I'm not your teacher, so I don't really have to give you clear, concrete answers. So I think we'll wrap that up. Writing is telepathy. Don't approach the blank page lightly. Communicate with people who were alive 300 centuries ago. 300 centuries ago. I mean, yeah, not wrong. 300 centuries. No, kind of wrong. Definitely wrong. Yeah, 300 centuries. 300 years ago, 400, 500, whatever. Look back through history, communicate with those minds. Writing is telepathy. We're here on Washington Island. Leave a comment, smash like, click sub, leave a comment, because again, I don't like talking into the void. I love talking about reading and writing and art, and Ashley's telling me I gotta wrap this up. Girlfriend's telling me I gotta wrap this up. We gotta get the dogs, gotta catch the ferry ride out of here, gotta get back to the mainland. So we are on Washington Island. Look it up on Google Maps. We're out there, pretty far in the sticks. Like Right on Door County's Facebook page. Tell them that Sam sent you. And let's help you become a better reader, writer, thinker, speaker, so that you can crush your goals, so that you can become that you can kill it in an academic environment, professional environment, social environment, personal environment. I gotta wrap it up. I appreciate you giving some of your time and attention to this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.